President of the UK Jamaat, respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. My topic today is on the perception of smoking in Islam. During the first Iftari a few weeks ago, a few of us were sitting in the office discussing various topics of Islam, and one of the subjects that came up was, is smoking allowed in Islam? And Brother Mustaq and my father both gave an answer, both said unequivocally, no, smoking isn't allowed in Islam. But I kept on thinking about that discussion for a few days, and I wondered why in 2013 we were still having the debate about whether smoking is allowed in Islam. And I wondered what the perception was of non-Muslims and even casual Muslims, what they thought of the answer to this question. So I took a straw poll. I asked a few people in my office and in a few other of the places that I work, do they think that Muslims are allowed to smoke? And to my genuine surprise, all but one person said yes, they think Muslims are allowed to smoke. So when I followed this up and said, well, why do you believe Muslims can smoke? The answer I got back was because they had friends or friends of friends who were Muslims and they smoked. So if they're seeing Muslims smoke, they believe in Muslims are allowed to smoke. So from my very small poll, it seems that from a non-Muslim's point of view, the answer is quite simple. Are Muslims allowed to smoke? Yes, they are allowed to smoke. But why do casual Muslims or non-Muslims or people with very little understanding of Islam think that? And from my perspective, from the answer I was given, was that people work on the principle that you're judged on your actions and not your words. It's what you do that defines you, not what you say. And this is also a principle which we find in the Holy Quran as well. So with that in mind, I did a little bit of research. I went online and I looked for some statistics to see how much or how many Muslims in the world are smoking. And I focused my search on the Middle East, as it has the highest percentage of its population as Muslims. So firstly, I looked at cigarette sales around the world between 2005 and 2010, and what I found was that sales fell by 12% in Western Europe, they fell by 20% in North America, and 10% in Australasia. But in the Middle East, the market grew by 17%, making it the fastest growing area for cigarette consumption in the world. In 2010, 300 billion cigarettes were sold just in the Middle East. 36% of Tunisians smoke, 31% of Egyptians, and 19% of the people in Iran smoke. In Saudi Arabia, which most people view as I would say the kingdom of Islam, almost 5 million men currently smoke, and approximately 11, there's no official stats, but approximately 11% of women smoke. This is a nation where women aren't allowed to drive, they're not even allowed to go out shopping by themselves due to strict so-called Islamic law, but yet they're allowed to smoke. The tobacco industry has described the Middle East as a market with real growth potential. And that's one industry who knows how to make their money. So, this must represent clear proof to those who do not have an understanding of Islam that smoking is allowed and it's acceptable in Islam. But we all know that smoking also has its deadly side effects. So what are these countries doing about the dilemma of these side effects and the costs of dealing with that? Are these Islamic nations looking to the Holy Quran for guidance? Well, it seems they're not doing that. I just had a brief look at what some of the campaigns that are being conducted in the Middle East. And in 2010, Egypt launched an anti-smoking campaign, combining it with new taxes, with plans to ban all indoor smoking in major cities. Again, in 2010, Syria banned smoking in most public places, including parks, restaurants and cafes, although they still allowed the much more dangerous water pipes in designated areas. And again, in 2010, Jordan banned vending machines and billboards in their capital, Amman. And 12 people were fined on the first day of the ban at King Abdulaziz International Airport, on the first day of their smoking ban. Now, all of these things sound very familiar to us. And that's because these are exactly the same tactics being used by the government here in the UK, which is a Christian country. And the idea of these is to try to help people to either reduce down their smoking or to make it too expensive for them to carry on smoking, making it inconvenient for the general populace, and hopefully for younger people not to take up smoking in the first place. Now, if Islam did not allow smoking, then surely the above actions wouldn't be necessary. You wouldn't need new taxes on cigarettes. You wouldn't need to ban billboards with advertising for cigarettes. These Middle Eastern countries would simply need to ban smoking immediately, rather than try to educate people on the dangers of smoking. So again, if you're a non-Muslim and you're looking at this, it must seem to you that smoking is allowed in Islam. So that seems to be all cleared up then. Islam allows smoking if you base it on the evidence that you're seeing from within these Islamic countries. But then, if you do a quick Google search and you ask whether smoking is permitted, it seems to show many websites stating that smoking is haram in Islam. Website after website is now suggesting that smoking just used to be frowned upon by Allah and not banned, but now that there's clear evidence of the dangers of smoking, that smoking is now not permitted. So if that's correct, why is the Middle East seen as the region with the biggest growth potential for cigarette sales? Are these nations just simply ignoring the guidance from Allah? Have they decided that they know better? Are people hiding behind silly arguments because, well, they like smoking? And it seems that the simple answer to this question is yes. That's exactly what they're doing. I spent 10 minutes looking at the English translation of the Holy Quran by Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Ali, and to find an answer to this question. But before I go through those verses that I found, I would first humbly like to suggest that if your argument is that Allah only frowns upon smoking, why would you willingly and knowingly do something which displeases Allah? So, these are the verses. Chapter 7, verse 157, which I'm sure many people here actually probably thought of when I mentioned my topic. It says, "He enjoins them good and forbids them evil, and makes lawful to them the good things, and prohibits for them impure things, and removes from them their burden and the shackles which were on them. So those who believe in him, and honour him, and help him, and follow the light which has been sent down with him, these are the successful." The evil that's mentioned in this verse is something which can harm your body or which can harm our souls. So, is there conclusive evidence that smoking harms the body? Yes, there is. Smoking kills. It's even stated as a warning on the cigarette packets. Smoking causes lung cancer, it causes breathing problems and heart disease, among many other diseases, which kill human beings. Then, further on, the verse also says, "And removes from them their burden and the shackles." The shackles here is the addictive properties of cigarettes. It is very difficult to give up smoking once you've started. Even during Ramadan, if you walk past a mosque at the time when the fast opens, you'll see a gaggle of old men standing outside, all smoking their cigarettes. Pfizer, who are a very large international pharmaceutical company, only in the last few days released the results of a poll that they did. They polled just under 7,000 parents who are smokers. And there was many statistics that came out from this, but the one that I found probably the most upsetting was that 17% of parents admitted that they would sacrifice giving food to their children so they could save money to buy more cigarettes. 17% of parents. These are the shackles that the Holy Quran is warning us of. So chapter 7, verse 157 is actually so clear on the matter that you shouldn't need to look any further. The answer is there in front of us. But Allah knows human beings, and Allah knows that that isn't enough for us. So He goes further to help us. Part of chapter 2, verse 195 says, and cast not yourself to perdition with your own hands. By smoking, we're putting ourselves in harm's way, which is against this specific injunction of the Holy Quran. Smoking also causes severe, devastating fires. The news over the years has been littered with reports of forest fires and house fires, which were caused by people who mismanaged lit cigarettes and matches. And these led to devastating effects, including loss of human life and loss of animal life. Again, this is a violation of this injunction of the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran further goes on to say, in chapter 4, verse 29, and kill not your people. As I just mentioned, falling asleep with a lit cigarette have caused the deaths of people's whole families while they've been asleep as their houses are burnt down. The effects of passive smoking can lead to people suffering from and dying from cancer. If a woman smokes while she's pregnant, she increases the chances of a stillbirth, of killing her child. All of these are a direct violation of chapter 4, verse 29. Those are just 3 verses from the Holy Quran which I found in less than 10 minutes of reading, at least one of which is extremely well known. There are actually many other examples from the Holy Quran which I could give, and from the Hadith as well, but I shouldn't need to go any further, as Allah has said clearly to us in these verses that things which are harmful to you are evil, and those things deemed evil are not allowed. Cigarettes contain over 4,000 chemicals. It is the most dangerous, legal, widely available drug in the history of humanity. Smoking kills. Every single day, thousands of people die from smoking, and thousands more die from the effects of passive smoking. Children are being left without fathers, wives without their husbands, and parents are attending the funerals of their own children, all because of smoking. Smoking is evil. But people still try and make excuses. They say the Holy Quran doesn't explicitly mention the word cigarette, so therefore I'm allowed to smoke. Well, my humble response to that would be is that the Holy Quran also doesn't mention cocaine. It also doesn't mention ecstasy by name. But we know that these things are prohibited, and we know we shouldn't be taking these things because they are detrimental to us and therefore they're evil. So they fit within the verses that I've just mentioned. So how can you make that argument that cigarettes are okay to have because they're not specifically mentioned? If the Holy Quran did list it, well, first of all, cigarettes weren't even around in that time, so how could it be mentioned? But if the Holy Quran did mention every single thing by name, it would be a book that would be 50,000 pages long. And this is the sort of argument that people make, which makes a mockery out of Islam. From a non-Muslim's point of view, it's a silly argument to hear people make. And the thing with that argument is we see it again and again and again. And it's a common mistake from people where they take every single word of the Holy Quran literally, when it shouldn't be. The point is that you need to understand the message, the principle of what is being said. in the Holy Quran. Not sit there and take every single word literally to the point where women aren't allowed to go outside without their brother or their father following them. They have to be head to toe completely covered and be invisible. People are allowed to smoke because the word cigarette is not in the Holy Quran. All these things make a mockery of it. You're supposed to understand the principle of the message. And that is what makes the Holy Quran a book for all men and for all time. Because the message will always remain relevant. So, in conclusion, does Islam allow you to smoke? The answer is no. Islam doesn't allow you to smoke. But will Muslims keep smoking? Unfortunately, yes, they will. Thank you very much. I just want